to get these kind of numbers in such a short interval is great. So what we're thinking is that the acid is stimulating not just the major fracture that we targeted, but a lot of the minor fractures that are evident in this rock and evident across the field. And that has led us to some conclusions and discoveries about how the field should be developed going forward.
Welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Colin Harrington. He is the CEO of Zephyr Energy. And Colin, it's good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Stephen, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And some pretty significant news out from the company talking about the completion of the second phase of production on your test well. And so let's take a step back and remind everyone a little bit about project itself and really what the second well is.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'd like to say, first and foremost, yeah, we're really, really happy with how this has turned out. So to take that step back, you're right. We first production tested this well earlier this summer. We did a very small acid job on it at the time, and we got good results. We got a well that was flowing at 1,300 barrels a day, which is very solid for, above expectations, really solid for this area. But we were intrigued by some of the results we saw from the first acid job. So we went in a second time and we did a much, much larger operation this time. And it's very clear what a substantial impact this has had on the well itself. I mean, we've gone from peak rates of that 1,300 level up to about 2,100. Again, that's a pretty eye-watering number for a well with only 130-foot completed lateral in this part of the world. More than that, though, what was even more exciting to me was that we seem to have unlocked a way to complete these wells that's different than what was envisioned before. We're seeing really high deliverability, really good near well permeability. And again, to get these kind of numbers in such a short interval is great. So what we're thinking is that the acid is stimulating not just the major fracture that we targeted, but a lot of the minor fractures that are evident in this rock and evident across the field. And that has led us to some conclusions and discoveries about how the field should be developed going forward.
Yeah, and obviously we're talking about the Paradox Basin in Utah. And is this method that you're talking about, is this something that's used quite regularly in that particular area, or is this something that's seeing some new testing on it?
It's a great question. I think you should know first and foremost, this is a new play. It's an emerging basin. There hasn't been a lot drilled here before. What was drilled historically was companies targeting natural fractures. So companies would go in, usually with just 2D seismic. They try to target a natural fracture. When they would hit it, they'd have a good result. And when they'd miss, it would typically be a dry hole. What we've done over the past few years is try to prove up that this could be developed like some of the other resource plays that are here in the States and in Canada. So we drilled the first long lateral in this basin, and we did hydraulic stimulation to that to prove that you could fracture this rock. And that was with our 16-2 project. So all along, we've now been going after a hybrid model where we've been looking first to target a natural fracture and secondly, to drill a long lateral and stimulate it if we need it. Natural fractures are fine, but they're only in limited areas on our seismic. If you go with the hydraulic stimulation, that's good. You have more locations, but it's more expensive. What we've unlocked here with the acid stimulation is a way of essentially stimulating this rock at much less of a cost and much less in terms of resources like water that's needed, for example. So it gives us more locations for less CapEx, and combined with the liquid yields we're seeing in this part of the basin, which are higher than expected and with almost zero water, it really changes the economics of this play quite dramatically, and that's why we're so excited about it.
Absolutely. Doing more with less is always is a good thing when it comes to your industry, for sure. So what does that mean now for the next steps of the project? Because obviously you've unlocked some things that are extremely interesting, and there's obviously some further steps that have to be taken now to sort of take you to the next level.
Sure. Well, let's bifurcate that question into next steps for the well and then next steps for the company as a whole. Going back to what we were just talking about, we designed this well with two targets in mind. One was to go after the natural fracture where we had a well control incident last year where we knew there were hydrocarbons, but we also permitted it for a 10,000-foot lateral in the event that we didn't hit the target that we wanted to. We could still go in and drill that longer lateral. What we've got here is kind of a combination of those two results. We've hit the natural fracture. We have good hydrocarbons that are there. But we've also seen that this rock can be stimulated going after those minor fractures that the acid is stimulating so effectively. It would really argue for the economic benefits of a much longer lateral. We think it would be highly effective. So the team has to analyze these two things. One thing we want to make sure we don't do is to produce the well too quickly and at too high a rate right now, because you could have the effect of dropping the pressure down, and that would make it harder to drill the lateral later, because you'd be going from a low pressure zone to a much higher pressure area. So we're looking at both of those options right now. We feel very strongly that laterals in the future will be the way to go here. They could be augmented by natural fractures, but we think drilling long laterals is absolutely the right way forward using this acid stimulation, and we may do it on this one in the near term.
Yeah. As far as the company is concerned, are you potentially thinking that this is some sort of a partnership down the road that you would be looking at? Or are you thinking it's better to go on your own, or have you at that stage yet?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we've been preparing this for a long time to try to get to the point where we could attract a larger partner in. We've gotten a huge amount of positive data. So first of all, over the last few months, we've really been raising the profile of the company in the US. We've talked to a huge number of investors that invest at the asset level. We've talked with strategics, and we've talked to non-operated partners because we own 100% of this project. So we now have very positive data from 3 wells that we've drilled, 3 production tests. We've got modern seismic, we've got continuous core, we've got lots of core samples, and we've got lots of log data, and we've got a really good land position. So we think right now is the time to go out and start talking to partners. And just to bring this full circle, for example, the well we drilled a couple of years ago, the 16-2, it was getting 100 feet of the continuous core there that helped us design and think through this microfracture, minor fracture technique with acid. All of this data helps. So we think it's the right time. We will be going out, and we're launching immediately a process to go out and start talking in a more structured way to potential investors, because I think we've got the data to suggest we should put our foot on the gas pedal and accelerate the efforts here.
Absolutely. Important to have strong data behind you. Definitely. Colin, thanks so much. Great to see you again. And exciting times for the company ahead. We look forward to following the story. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And we'll talk soon, I'm sure.
All right. Sounds good. There's Colin Harrington, the CEO of Zephyr Energy.